Hey gang, what's up? Today is day 191, July the 10th, and those of you doing the one-year Bible with us, we've got 1 Chronicles chapter 9 verse 1 through chapter 10 verse 14. We've got Acts chapter 27 verse 21 through 44, Psalm chapter 8 verse 1 through 9, and Proverbs chapter 18 verse 23 through 24. Today I want to look at Acts. We're getting kind of close to the end of Acts here. And I want to look at here in Acts 27, and I want to look at verse 39 through 44. At this point in our narrative, in the story, we've got Paul has been arrested, and Paul is getting sent by ship to Rome. And so, in a nutshell, Paul had an opportunity to go free, but he's like, no, I'm taking this and protesting it to Rome. And this ends up being his avenue to finally get to Rome. He has been dying to get there. And we'll see that in the book of Romans. When he writes that, he's like, man, you guys in Rome, love y'all. I want to see you someday. I don't know how it's going to work, but my heart just yearns to be there. And so we see that he's finally making it there here in Acts chapter 27. They put him on this boat with all these prisoners. They start shipping them out, and this huge storm comes. The storm ain't looking good. So you've got the soldiers there, you've got the other prisoners there, a big storm. They're already throwing stuff overboard to try to keep the boat from sinking. And then we've got this. Now, when it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they noticed a bay with a beach on it, which they planned, if possible, to run the ship ashore. So they're in the storm, they see this land, we don't know what it is, but let's just try to crash the boat there so at least we're on land and we don't die at sea. So they cast off the anchors and left them in the sea, at the same time loosening the ropes that tied the rudders. Then hoisting the foresail to the winds, they made for the beach. But striking a reef, they ran the vessel aground. The bows stuck and remained immovable, and the stern was being broken up by the surf. The soldiers' plan was to kill all the prisoners, lest any should swim away and escape. But the centurion, wishing to save Paul, kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and make for the land, and the rest on planks or on pieces of the ship. And so it was that all were brought safely to land. You see, in the Roman culture, if a prisoner escaped, that's a life sentence. You failed, you've brought shame, and now you're dead. So they're like, let's just kill the prisoners, that way none of them escape and we can save our own lives. But this centurion stepped up for Paul. Now, centurion here is one of the captors, not one of the captives. The centurion is one of the ones who has him as prisoner. Yet even though Paul is a prisoner, the centurion shows compassion. It's an interesting thing. It makes me wonder about this centurion. It says that he's concerned not for all the prisoners, but for Paul. Somehow Paul had connected to him and reached him. Even though they were on their separate sides of this conflict, somehow Paul was able to impact him. Paul lived his life in such a way that even those who were supposed to be his enemies had a respect for him. And really, that's how we should live. As believers, we will have enemies. If you don't have people that are judging you for your Christianity, it's worth asking yourself if you're living in your Christianity. But Paul did, in such a way that even his enemies recognized something was different, something was worth protecting, and his enemies had respect. May that be the same for you and I, that we live our lives in such a way that even though we have enemies, even though people disagree with us, they have this respect for us and are willing to stand up for us, even while they're against us. See ya.